Hello, everybody. Welcome to Seekers Chronicles.
Hello,
And
hello.
yeah, we're back. We're back tonight. Jennie,
Back
she can't be
another
on.
week.
She's not feeling under the weather. Hopefully she'll be back again next week. Knowing Jennie, if Jennie's not on the show, she's not feeling good because she'll make sure she's on the show. But
I
yeah, so
know.
we're gonna miss you tonight, Jennie. Um, so feel better. Everybody just
Big hearts for
yeah,
Jennie.
give Jennie some love and positive energy that she feels better. So so Kimm, how you doing? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm a little nervous that I'm the next one on the chopping block for the sickness. There is so much going around right now. So everybody stay healthy, stay well, do the best you can. But yeah, had a good weekend. Yes, well, through the snow, we had a lot of, well, okay, that's an overstatement. We had some snow and ice here in
Mm-hmm.
New Jersey and New York. Some snow, some ice, not terrible. But yesterday was doing some filming for a paranormal documentary. So that's exciting. That'll be coming out at some point in time, and we'll be able to share more about that. But
That's
that was really
awesome.
fun this weekend.
Yeah, that's awesome. You guys are doing that. So I can't wait to see it. I really can. Sounds
Yeah,
like a
me
good
too. I'm really
location.
excited how he'll put it all together because so
Yeah,
much was going on there. So yeah, it'll be really great.
yeah. So yeah, that's I can't wait to see that. And you said it's coming out soon.
Well, I don't know when.
Oh,
Some
okay.
point in the future. in
In the future.
the
I hope
future,
somewhere in
when
the
I know
future.
more,
It's not gonna come out
when
in the
I
past.
know more, you guys will be the first to know on this on the podcast.
Jeez. So you're gonna be first to hear it. Great, cool.
Hi, Todd, Carmela. Hi, Mary Beth. Hi, Melissa,
Hey guys, Todd
and
and
everybody
Camilla.
else who is on there as well. Not
Yeah,
not
Mary
typing.
Beth.
So, what did you do, Anthony? What was your weekend? What'd you do?
My weekend was okay.
Mm,
But
mm,
yeah, it was like a very stressful kind of weekend. Then Monday
yeah.
morning, my son, they decide him and his girlfriend are gonna get married. Yep,
Whoa.
yep. We went down to
You
City Hall in
excited that?
Manhattan. Oh boy, Manhattan downtown. It was great. Um, so we went there, and it was a really nice little ceremony. You only want to have a couple people in it because it's actually a federal building, and you just can't. You have to show ID, take your key. You got to take everything out.
Right, right.
Metal
Yeah.
detectors and stuff like that. But it was good. It was a nice little thing. And then afterwards, I took them out for like a brunch, and then after that, we had a big party at nighttime at this Brazilian food place. I don't ask me to try to say the name because I'm not going to be able to
Okay.
say the name. Mm-mm.
Something Brazilian.
Yeah, it's a Brazilian place where they cut the meat off the sticks and stuff like that. So it was pretty good.
Oh
It was
yeah,
nice.
delicious.
So
But
yeah,
so
I had a rough
much.
night. Too
Yeah,
much, too much.
too
But
much.
well,
Yeah.
when I say too much, it's too much. I got the belly to hold the stuff in there, but but it was a good time. We had a good time, and the family got together. I got a new daughter-in-law. My
Yes, congratulations, Anthony.
I got
Congratulations.
thank you. My second daughter-in-law. So I'm not used to having daughters. I have all sons. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Todd, Camilla. Yeah. So like I said, I got a new daughter-in-law. So I got to stay there last night. It was with the daughter-in-laws, my sons, and my family, with my grandson, and it was a good
Mm,
night. We had a good night.
good.
So I was a little hurting today. So
Yeah, going easy. Take it easy. Take it easy.
yeah,
But
yeah,
that's
yeah,
good. That's wonderful to celebrate with the family, a new addition in the family. Beautiful
yeah,
thing. Really
yeah.
happy
It
for
was
you.
nice. It was nice. Her family doesn't live here, so they couldn't come and join us. So it was but she had everybody on Zoom. She had like 15 people on Zoom, all these different people on Zoom, and I'm holding the cell phone so they could see the ceremony as
Oh,
they're doing everything.
wow.
Nice, they got to see it. And so it was a nice day, So
What a 2025 wedding.
yeah,
Just have it on the phone and everybody
yeah,
sees it
they're
on the
seeing it
phone.
all on the phone. They're all sitting there in their living rooms on their couches and watching the
Wow.
wedding. But at least they got to see it. That's the whole thing,
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
So they,
absolutely.
they got to
Beautiful.
see it, and it was nice. I got to see them, then get to say hello to them and everything. But if they were here, they would have been with us last night. So
Mm,
afterwards, they probably would have been there also. But it was nice.
right.
But
Love it. Yes.
nobody's here to hear my story. We're here because we have fantastic guests. Kimm did another great reading on the location. So, Kimm, do you want to
Yeah,
announce?
I am super excited today because we have Greg O'Brien with us, which I just found out is the paranormal host for Fort Mifflin in Philadelphia, PA.
Mhm.
So local in our backyard, accessible, and I'm really excited to hear the paranormal stories here and the history associated with it. So let's have Greg on.
Here he comes. There he is.
Hey,
How you
Hi, Greg.
doing?
Welcome. Welcome,
thank you.
welcome
Doing
Yeah,
good.
to the Seekers
welcome.
Paranormal Historians. Love it.
Yeah. See, Kim, and Jennie, they love history and everything, and they every time we go locate. I like history too, but these
I was
two are
like,
like
stop it.
gurus.
You love history too, Anthony.
I like history.
Yeah.
I was never into history until I started paranormal, really going to like these old locations. You
Yeah,
know,
no,
Yeah,
they run together.
it's
yeah.
true.
You know.
In school, it's like who cares? But once you get to these old locations, you know, it's like, oh wow. And especially, being construction, I was an electrician. You go into these locations, just the way the buildings are built and stuff like that. I love that. I love these history type of things, where they
Yeah.
build the stuff and everything. So,
Hey,
so
Ron.
Yeah, Greg, you're getting great reviews already just from your introduction alone. A good
yeah,
soul, a nice guy, amazing location, amazing location. Greg is a wealth of knowledge. So this is great.
yeah. Matter of fact, I put some of Lourdes' pictures on tonight. I stole your pictures, Lourdes. You know, so the pictures you see that I actually put on, not the ones you put on, is from Lourdes. So I gotta give her props on it. So, were you always into the paranormal, or just because you were a non-believer, then you start working here and you believed? How did that work?
Yeah, I mean, I've always believed, had experiences younger and everything, but yeah, I mean, I actually really got into the paranormal because of Fort Mifflin.
Mm,
This was before it was a paranormal hotbed. With scouts. They would allow scouts to spend the night there, and
Hmm.
um, we
what?
spent oh yeah, spent a night week went in on I guess a Saturday morning. I spent Saturday night over, but it was the weekend after our big event, the siege weekend. It's the anniversary of the big siege of 1777. So we were there the weekend afterwards. So that triggered a lot, and um, yeah, it was just we adults running around chasing figures, doing head counts on kids because we're hearing voices all over the place. So
Yeah.
after that, and this was um, before ghost hunters and everything like that. So
Mm.
um, after that, yeah, I just got addicted and um, I started volunteering at the fort and joining some ghost paranormal groups and did everything I could to get into the paranormal and eventually ended up um, being the paranormal host there for me. It's about 7, 8 years now. I've been doing that. So yeah, I owe it to Fort Mifflin.
Yeah, that's awesome. That fort is unbelievable. One like 'cause we went there, was me, Ron Lourdes, Penny Morgan, and West,
Coleman.
and
Yeah.
Coleman. Yeah, Wes Coleman, doesn't he like live there almost?
He comes down from Canada. He lives in Canada, and he'll come down.
Yeah,
He
I know.
comes down quite often. He loves
Yeah,
the place. He's a great guy. Um, um, he'll be down at Penhurst, I think, in May. So,
yeah.
um,
I'm hoping to make Penhurst. That's the weekend of my grandson's first birthday.
oh, great. Yeah, my grandson just turned 2 at the end of January.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Oh,
It's
wow.
awesome.
Congrats. Yeah,
They
so
keep us
good.
busy. They keep us
Yeah,
busy.
they keep us busy, and yeah, he's been to the fort already, so I can't wait to get him out there regularly.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be your little buddy out there, telling
Yep,
everybody where to go and stuff like that, and
definitely.
the history.
He could
Yeah,
talk with the ghost kids.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
Well,
cool.
I'm a little caught up in the fact that they thought it was a good idea to have kids stay overnight there in the first place.
Yeah, well,
I mean, were
Scout,
they scared? Were you
Mhm.
scared?
I wasn't scared. We were just, like I say, didn't get any sleep. I just, trying to figure out where voices were coming from and these figures that were darting around, and
I
Wow.
can imagine.
um,
Oh
it
wow.
was nuts. And so after that, yeah, the scouts all wanted to go back, so we would go
Oh,
back
wow,
Yeah,
yearly.
they
great.
love
Yeah.
it.
They
I was
loved
a
it.
Well,
scoutmaster for 14 years, so I know all about the scouts. And when you start seeing shadows and stuff like that and hearing things, you're like, I gotta. My main concern is the kids, and you
Yep,
gotta watch over the kids because you don't know if there's somebody in the place or they're gonna get hurt or
right.
you can just follow something. So I understand that with the scouts and being a scoutmaster, Fort Mifflin would have been a great place. I would have definitely took my troop to go sleep. You know, ghost or
Yep,
no ghost.
yep. Oh yeah, it's a lot you can do.
Yeah,
A
it's
lot of merit badges you can get things checked off on in there.
yeah,
mm,
yeah,
Citizen of the nation. You can cook all kinds of good stuff.
yeah.
We have a good scout program for the at the fort.
That's
nice.
great.
Well, I
That's
also love that you mentioned that it happened after the event. Did you have a reenactment there? Was there a
We
reenactment the day before?
the week before.
The week before?
If if I get into the history, I can say um, the fort had the siege of 1777. It was a 5 week. They held the British off, and um, enabling Washington to establish winter quarters at Valley Forge. So we have a big. That's our biggest event of the year, where we have
Wow.
the British reenacting the siege, and so you get a lot of musket fire, a lot of cannon fire, a lot of yelling and screaming. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
triggers a lot of activity.
Totally. And I find that locations that do historical reenactments tend to hold on to that energetically stronger. So like if I go to a place that does reenactments, I'm more likely to hear cannon fire, I'm more likely to hear gunshots, things like that. And I do feel like the residual energy is held stronger in those places. So yeah, absolutely. Love it.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, Fort North Mifflin is your longest active military fort in United States history. It was active
Oh,
Revolutionary
wow.
War through the
Mhm.
Korean War. Was deactivated in 1954. So yeah, like I think to tell people it's unique in the paranormal community. It's layers of history, layers of death, and layers of
Mm.
hauntings there at the fort.
Yeah,
Uh, so yeah, Civil War was a military prison.
yeah.
Ah,
World War I and II, it was
mhm.
munitions depot, and they
Cool.
put
Mhm.
anti-aircraft guns in World War II to help defend. So
Yeah,
yeah,
Alaska.
lots layers of history there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
love
I
it.
my favorite spot's the tunnels.
Yeah, the
I love
casemates.
those
Oh
tunnels.
yeah, I hope we
Yeah.
get to the tunnels. But um why don't we maybe go to some pictures, or do you want to tell us anything else about how you
Yeah,
found yourself there? Or do you do any other paranormal investigating, or is it just at Fort
I do. I
Mifflin?
mean, I've hit everything there is. It just, I just, I, I enjoy when I step foot on Fort Mifflin. I just feel so comfortable and so
Mm,
I
you
mean,
feel
they know us
comfortable.
by names. They call, I get, they'll say hi. They'll call my name. I've walked across the parade ground, and I've heard attention. I stop, I salute, and I mean,
Wow.
Mhm.
it's just so I just enjoy being there. But yeah, I get invited to other places and enjoy other places. But it's just nice to be with family, as I
Mhm.
say.
As we're talking, I'm going to start showing some pictures of the place.
Cool.
So I just want to. This is from the sky, from the air. That's
Yeah, that
cool.
it's that's the fort, but even to the right of the fort, it extends out. There's a total of 40 acres there, and in the 1870s, they put gun batteries to the right of it along the river. So we're right on the Delaware River,
Mm.
and if you look across, there's New Jersey. Um, and close over New Jersey would have been another Revolutionary War fort, Mercer, and that would have been it was called Red Bank. But everything you see there, fort was laid out in 1777 by the British to protect Philadelphia, which was your largest English-speaking city in the colonies at that time. And then yeah, during the siege, everything was destroyed except to the to the west of the wall and the north, the wall facing the river and on the left side. And you see they're designed a little different because the left side in the north
Mm.
is English. When the fort was rebuilt under John Adams, he had the French come in to help. So there on the right side, that's French. so,
Oh,
Oh,
um,
wow. Yeah, I
so
see like it's thicker. Like the part on the left is thicker, and then the part on the right has like a whole different
yep.
structure to the wall. Yeah.
So
mhm.
all those buildings were from it was rebuilt in the 1790s under John Adams. So the buildings there are all from the early, late 1790s all the way up to the 1870s. You see there.
That's wow. Look at that. Yeah, this is one of Lourdes' pictures. I think that's great.
It's hard to
I
see that
to
one a
stop
little
for
bit.
pictures. Huh?
I said it's hard to see that one a little bit.
That's the best I could do on that one.
Yeah, that
Oh.
shows the gun mounts on the wall.
Oh, okay. I see
Oh.
that. Yes, that's
Yeah, they
awesome.
added them, and they would have been those um half round rails that the guns would sit on wheels, and then that they could turn them on that on those rails.
And that
For
was
World War One and Two, right? Where that was
Well,
the
yeah, World War II, the anti-aircraft mounts. These were from the um, 1800s Civil War
Oh,
through
wow.
yeah.
oh
Um,
wow.
Yeah, so even older than that. Yeah, yeah.
So there was cannons on there and stuff.
there was plenty of cannons. During the siege, there was only 10 cannons the fort had, but yeah, they really added a lot of munitions throughout the years um, till it was deactivated.
Okay. There's a picture of a flag.
The flag, yeah, that it's red, white, and blue stripes. That was the official Fort Mifflin flag. Um,
Hmm.
the flag that that's the type of flag that flew over the fort during the siege of 1777. It would have been
Wow.
huge, large. They could see it from miles away, the original flag.
Hmm.
And we have documentation that the Fort Mifflin flag was made by the most famous seamstress at that time.
Betsy Ross.
Betsy Ross made the
Awesome.
Oh,
original Fort Mifflin flag that
That
flew
is
over the
so
fort.
cool.
So yeah, it's red, white, and blue stripes. That was based off the Pennsylvania Navy um, flag. So that's what that's the Fort Mifflin flag. So we fly that all the time um,
That
over the
is
fort
wow.
proudly. Just
Yeah, I bet you. So here's some black and white. This is I got a couple pictures here you sent me.
yeah. Now that's the officers' quarters. Um, Now, the officers' quarters, you would have had two families on the second floor and two families on the first floor. And of course, being military fort, you had families, so you had wives and children there. So we do have women spirits, children spirits. Um,
Yep.
so unfortunately, all the trees were cut down, so there's no trees inside. I mean, that officers' quarters was built in 1814, and that looks like a sycamore. I mean, that looks like a few hundred. That, to me, that would have been a witness tree for the bombardment of 1777.
Mm,
Mm.
Um,
good point.
so yeah, so there was a lot of old trees in the fort, but unfortunately, they were all taken down, I guess, um, during for the World War II or whatnot.
And honestly, Greg, I'm so happy that you mentioned the trees because, and that it could have been a witness tree because
Hmm.
I totally recognize that when I go to places and read them and there's big trees there. And I almost feel like they're even more important than some of the structures that are there. Like they've seen everything.
They've seen
So thank you
everything,
for
and they've
bringing that up.
yeah,
Yeah.
they got the scarring of everything. You know, it's
Yep.
just
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay, here's is that wow? That
yeah.
look the
That's
execution of somebody?
yeah. Like like to tell people, the fort is unique. Layers of history, layers of death, and layers of hauntings. Um, You know, we had you had the siege of 1777, so you had death on the battlefield, Civil War military prison. There
Wow.
and since it was deaths, there was diseases and death and executions. Being a military fort, there was execution, so it was for desertion. So this is 1814. Um, and yeah, he's being shot, executed. That right now is that area with that he's being shot is our picnic area. So
Oh
yeah, so we have one documented hanging in 1864. William Hell. That was he was hung inside the fort, and the executions were held outside the fort there.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, what I find unique about that, if you look next to uh, the soldier that's being executed, is his coffin's right there.
I'm
Oh gosh.
curious. The flag
Right.
is half mast, and it's not the same flag.
Well, I mean, you know, while I was an active military fort, they would fly the current United States flag. Um,
Oh, okay.
okay,
But
so
it's half mast.
yeah, it's dropped down. I guess you know they played their drums, and lowered it when they shot him.
Oh wow. So next time we go there, we can have our picnic on that ground.
Yeah,
Then
you can go right over there.
go over there, just hang out, and have your little picnic. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, put your
Uh,
REM pod right on the
Yeah,
picnic
right out
table.
there.
so
Hmm.
just hang out. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You put a ram pod down and just sit down and picnic,
Yeah,
and see
sandwich
if
and
any,
REM.
and see if anything comes and joins you.
Yeah, see if anybody comes in, you know,
Yes, yeah. As
if
long as
you're
they don't take my
hungry.
sandwich, I'd be okay. Or my cannolis. No, nobody touches my cannolis.
Melissa says, "Bring an extra sandwich."
Yeah.
Oh. Is there any markers there, like markers around that area to denote what happened? Like, is there?
He, we have, yeah, we have markers identifying all the different buildings.
Hmm.
Um, Historical. Um, we have we call it a hotspot map that we can give out for people if they're going to tour, which explains all the paranormal activity in
Oh,
each of the locations
cool.
too.
So you have
So
a
yeah,
special paranormal map. That's
yep,
awesome.
we call it a hotspot map. Yep. So that you know people, and we
Yes,
only put
please.
out the stories that have been documented throughout
Mm,
the times.
mm.
You know, so and we also keep we have a binder available. We encourage people for any personal experiences to document their experiences while they're there.
It,
Yeah,
Love
the
it.
flag is, you know, it was used, but like I say, it was based off Mary Beth, based off of the Pennsylvania Navy. So, but Fort Mifflin established it as their flag. So you might have seen it somewhere else.
yeah. That's pretty cool. Here we go. This is
Hey, Anthony, do you want to do well, okay, after this you want to do one of the first video maybe?
yes, yeah. I think what we've seen so far. I mean, until we get to the tunnels, but
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
this is where the airplanes come over, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, right there, that's called that was the original. That was an armory, and then it became a
Hmm.
jail
Mm.
cell too. But yeah, that's during sunrise.
Hmm.
That's facing east. So I always love catching the sunrises and sunsets are so gorgeous
Hmm.
right there. But yeah, that's coming up
That's
over
nice.
the river.
But I got a question. The airplanes, because you're right by the airport there.
Yes.
Airplanes coming over, are they original from the Civil War?
That
Oh
I
God.
when I do a tour or anything, when I talk, I always say, anybody have any questions? There's no such thing as stupid. There's no such thing as a stupid question unless you ask why they built the fort so close to the airport.
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah, why? Wouldn't,
Why
don't
they
you think
put
they
it?
would
Why they
check over
build
the
this fort so
airport
close to
before
the
they come
airport?
into the fort? I don't
Yeah,
understand these things.
we get asked that. So
Oh my Lord. Yeah. Well, last I checked, they weren't flying airplanes in the
not in the
1700s.
1700s.
Which one you want to do first, Kim?
Number one, yeah, because that'll kind of go over
Okay, fort with
pretty
large
much
tunnel.
every.
Okay,
Hmm?
here we go.
So here's another tunnel picture here. In here, I feel more of a mischievous energy. Barrack, lots of people in here on the ground, laying, sitting, resting on the sides, just totally bored, escaping the heat. Like now they're like, oh, on a hot day, they might come down here too to escape the heat. Not much else than that, although I would love to get more insight. Okay, so I was sent a few more photos from our guest this week for our historical location, our haunted historical location. I'm gonna first start with this photo here. This is the one I was actually most drawn to out of the few that I was given. And I immediately, there's a few things I really wanna talk about with this. Prison, I wanna talk about a fort, like this being some sort of military fort or base. I want to go into the Revolutionary War, but I also feel like it was used in the Civil War. And I feel like most of the like kind of trauma associated with this structure would be associated with Civil War. I am in like the mid-Atlantic kind of region. Patriotism. I want to just go again, like patriotism. Like these were the patriots. I do feel like they had prisoners here. I do feel like these were barracks, meaning like some of the soldiers may have lived here, eaten here, worked here, drilled here, practiced here. Yeah, there is a component of prisoners here as well, or a prison as well on this property. So in this photo, I'm seeing, this is residual, but you might also capture this on cameras. I'm seeing soldiers like kind of just doing drills. I'm seeing like soldiers walking up and down the stairs, soldiers walking along the kind of like the balcony there, and then I'm also seeing them like just up and down in the whole grass area. There is something, I don't know, the name Eric is coming up and the name Benjamin. If this isn't associated with Benjamin Franklin, then I do feel like there's another Benjamin that would be associated with this. It was used in winter. I'm seeing people being here in the winter, in the summer, so really all year round, but like the winter time is coming up as being difficult. You may also hear firearms here, like a bang, but not like a bang on the wall, like a bang outside. Like you may be inside and you hear outside like a literally kind of like a gunshot. That would be residual. I do feel like people might experience that here. And there's something here about the Star Spangled Banner. And again, this could just be related to the patriotism of this area, of this place. Very strong ties to America, the founding of America, the patriot.
Wow, pretty good.
So sorry, Anthony, I switched the video. It
Yeah,
started
I
a
see
different
that.
one and I switched it. Yeah, it's
When
okay.
I
But
say when you say number one, I usually go down the list. So on the first one, second
oh,
one, third one.
no
That's
worries.
why I ask.
No
Why I
worries.
don't understand these things.
Okay.
What's going on? Hey. I noticed after you did it, it says one on it. So okay.
Yeah, so Yeah, tell us is what's going on here, Greg, on that picture. What do you experience there, or what happens there?
With the barracks. I mean, with the one last one you showed with the two buildings.
Oh. Yeah.
That one?
No. Yes. Yep. 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 And like the green area, the
Yeah, well,
grass.
that like there you have the in the background was the officers' barracks, and on the right side was the enlistment
Oh.
barracks, and in the middle is the parade ground. Yes, like I say, I've walked across the parade ground and had the attention and gotten saluted. I've sat on a bench right in front of the enlistment barracks and listened to them marching back and forth.
That's awesome.
Um,
Is this what you're
and
Crazy.
talking about?
yeah, that we still. Um, as I like to tell, it was deactivated in 1954, but behind us is the Army Corps of Engineers and the 54th Stryker, Pennsylvania National Guard, the 54th Stryker Group. Um, so where they are located was part of Fort Mifflin when it was an active military fort. Um, the fort, the historical buildings were what was deeded back to the city in '62. Um, but they still come over and actively use the base to do drills, retirements, promotions. So, you could technically still say the fort is an active military base because they come over and use it.
Yeah.
That's
Oh my
awesome.
gosh.
So yeah, that's the parade grounds. So yeah, behind them is the officers, and then on the side there with that column, that's the barracks. And yes, you'll see figures going all over, walking around in there, and it's very active. And um, so yeah, you picked that right up.
Yeah,
Nice.
and
What is
that's
that mound
we
behind them?
That mound behind, that's gunpowder. Um,
Oh.
Yeah, that's where they stored gunpowder. And so it's buried under,
Oh.
earth. So you go in and um, inside, but yeah, that's where they would store in the gunpowder.
Oh wow. Yeah,
And then during World War II, it became World War I and II, it became munitions depot. So they would have put in all the different encasemates, and they would have shoved them with munitions, stored munitions all in there.
that's wild. That's wild.
Yeah. So all that energy is just all still hanging out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, that in the back is called artillery shed, and there is a lot of residual energy back there because anything that's historical, original, that over times has to be replaced, we store back there. So there's a lot of
Mhm.
activity in there. This was during one of our candlelight tours. Um, Person took a picture. I just wanted to see if you felt anything with that picture, because I don't know if I sent the zoom in one or not, but um,
This is what we got.
you see where that little like the tiki torch is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you look straight above it on the second floor,
Is this
Oh
person
wait. Yeah.
sitting?
there's a person sitting up there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So he wasn't there until, yeah, the person, I tell people to take pictures, take multiple pictures in a row, and
Wow.
yeah, they captured that person sitting right up there,
Yeah.
and I have a
I
zoomed
see that
in one.
there.
Yeah,
Yes, I do too. I don't have the ability to zoom it in on the on
yeah,
what we're
yeah.
going to.
I didn't want to send the zoom. I just wanted to see if anybody would pick that up. But yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I wish if you would have pointed out which picture you wanted her to read, I would have sent that exactly because I didn't know which one to send.
well,
I
she
just sent her
she saw
some.
it right away.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was
So
when you first put it up there, I was gonna say there's a face. There's a face of a man who wants to be seen. And then you directed me to the top there. But yeah, I see that. I see that.
that is
Absolutely.
awesome. Yeah, I can see that up there. You can see the head and the
Yes,
shoulders, and his
Hmm.
shoulders
arms are like
and
crossed a
his
little
arm.
bit.
He's got his arm across his lap there, and his legs. He's just
Yeah, and
sitting
his
up there.
legs are up. Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, that's awesome. You know,
Nice.
So
got
yeah, that's the artillery. A lot of people think that was the barn, but they would have wagons back there and extra
Mm.
cannons that they could
yeah.
roll out and move around.
You also have a museum within it.
In the barracks, the enlistment barracks, we have a museum. But there, yeah, we this was upstairs. Yeah, this is just some of the things that were there around. We have uniforms. Um, all those roles, they're blueprints from that the
Wow.
Army Corps of Engineers over the years would map out the fort. So we have documents from that show the progressive of the fort, the buildings. It shows original buildings that are no longer there,
Hmm.
and the updates that happened over
Mm.
the years.
Yeah,
It,
and
it's just a lot of history. I mean, we have 5-gallon buckets of grape shot cannonballs. Yeah, this is um, there was a cemetery behind. When you come in the parking lot, there's a building. That's where the administration building is. That's the old hospital building. And yeah, people always asked if there were bodies buried, where they're buried at the fort, and they were buried behind the um, hospital building. Right now, that's
Mm.
federal property from for Army Corps and all. But yeah, in 1896, they were relocating the bodies to a new national cemetery,
hmm
and these are the bodies that they were able to remove. Unfortunately, when word got out that the bodies were being exhumed, um,
hmm
grave robbers came in to remove bodies that they could find, for any kind of metals or whatever they can get. So
yeah,
there were bodies that were lost, but these are the ones that were relocated.
yeah.
And
There's
you can,
children on that too.
there's children.
No,
Yeah,
it
you
says
had
Elizabeth something and two
Elizabeth
children of
Pratt and two.
soldier.
Yeah, Elizabeth Pratt. She was married to a sergeant. Um, um, uh, as I say, a lot of disease. When the fort was being rebuilt under Adams, there was yellow fever epidemic.
Oh,
Um,
Mm,
yeah.
and Elizabeth and her two children. Um, Elizabeth died February of 1803 of yellow fever. Her two children died in 1802 of yellow fever. The son was never named. He was infant. He was born at the fort, but unfortunately he died of yellow fever. And the daughter Elizabeth also died of yellow fever. So
yeah,
um,
unknown.
yeah, and an unknown. But yeah, there's a story but with Elizabeth Pratt. There's a screaming lady at the fort. People have heard screams. The Army
Mm.
Corps of Engineers
Wow.
called the police over from the screams coming from the fort.
Oh, cool.
Um, if you go back to original Ghost Hunters, there was a story told, and it was based off of a book, Haunted Philadelphia. And in that they talk about the screaming lady of Fort Mifflin, and it's described as Elizabeth Pratt had a teenage daughter that fell in love with an enlisted man, a soldier. It was shunned upon since Elizabeth Pratt was married to an officer. So the daughter needed to marry an officer. So
Hmm.
um, the daughter ran off with the enlisted man. So there was desertion and that was involved. So Elizabeth shunned her daughter. So years go by. Elizabeth gets word that her daughter died, which then causes Elizabeth to go nuts and screaming. And they lock her up in the second floor of the officers' quarters, and eventually she breaks out, ties a rope around the railing, and hangs herself. So that was the story that was
Oh,
told for
wow.
years. But then we got all kinds of documentations from a historian decided to look, and it turns out that Elizabeth Pratt had two young children, didn't have an adult child. uh, the officers' quarters, again, was built in 1814. Elizabeth Pratt, as you can see, died in 1803.
Hmm.
So Elizabeth Pratt did live at Fort Mifflin, but she never lived in the hospital building, and she did not have a older daughter. So that I like to say that all the time because that was on the first episode of Ghost Hunters
Ghost.
Fort Mifflin. And people still come out and repeat that about that story. But people do pick up Elizabeth's name. There was an Elizabeth Bunker that did live at the officers' quarters during the Civil War, and did came down with dysentery, and she ended up dying over at the hospital building. So Elizabeth's name's picked up quite often.
Hmm.
Mm. Well,
And
you
this is
bring up
all pre-Civil War, also.
Yeah, yeah,
Everyone there buried there is pre-Civil War because the latest dates there 1853. The Civil War didn't start till like what was it 1861, 62, something like that.
yeah.
And so this is all pre-Civil War.
These are all pre-Civil War. Yep.
This is
Yeah,
why.
but it looks like they were removed post Civil War, but they were
Yes.
interred
Mhm.
pre Civil War. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Greg, you bring up such a good point about the history and the stories of a lot of these hauntings and these places. And I can't myself too. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to locations, heard the legend, heard the story that people are telling everybody who comes in. And then when you go back to the history books and you actually do the hard time
Mhm.
to find the stories, it's not true. Some of it
Right.
is, like some of it is real and true. And for me, I really do like to bring the history into my mediumship, into the readings, because I can't imagine being past and somebody continuing to tell a false story about my life. And
Right.
I feel like
Mhm.
it can be even more detrimental to the spirits. And then
Right.
when you
It could
correct
could
the
upset
story,
them. Yes.
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
And when you correct the story, I often find that some of the activity decreases and goes
Mhm.
Right.
down. Yeah, so thank you for bringing that up. I think it is
Mhm.
so important to not
Yeah,
just go into these places and just, oh, well, this is what they tell me happened. It's like, well, is that
exactly.
real? Do they
Right.
have, and to be fair, history doesn't catch everything. There's quite a bit that isn't documented. It's possible that those things happened, but if you can find a true story, then use that one.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. Instead of making fabricated, I mean, there's a lot of things going on out there where, like you said, somebody comes in, a site comes in, or a show comes in, and they'll say something about a certain individual or a certain thing being why it's haunted by, and people keep on coming in and using that person's name, and then you find out that person didn't even exist there, or
Right.
Yeah.
there's nobody there in documents that has that name. So it's, I mean, and it's too much going on out there right now. But I'd rather hear the truth than finding out,
Yeah, I
what
mean,
really it
you
is.
just like you say, you just got to do some research. Like
Mm-hmm.
when it was a military prison, it was Union, Confederate, and we had civilian political prisoners. Um,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
and
Yeah, yeah.
um, a lot of people don't know that during the Civil War, Lincoln locked up tens of thousands of civilians.
Mm.
If you opposed the war or opposed Lincoln, you got a knock on the door and you got dragged out. So we had two sets of
Mhm.
political. We had 44 from upstate Pennsylvania and 40 from um, Western Pennsylvania that were housed at this
Wow.
dragged in. They were um, taken over, put on a train. They dropped them off in Philly, and then they marched them from Market Street in Philadelphia all the way into the fort. And then they were housed there, and there was again a lot of sickness, dysentery. You brought up that one thing with the cell. They were sleeping on the floor. They didn't have beds. They slept on the floor. There was what it was called a half barrel for waste, and they might have dumped it every 2 weeks. So they were
Oh,
basically sleeping in their own waste.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and so they were given blankets that the mice had chewed through, stale food. When they dump the bucket, the waste bucket, then they draw the drinking water. I mean, it was
Hmm.
just horrific conditions. So we had
terrible.
those political prisoners, and those are great. It's called American Bastille. I mean, there's 2 volumes of it, and this was written in like after the Civil War to document all the political prisoners that were housed throughout the country. So we have, in in If you can see, there's a list. That's a list of one of the group of political prisoners. So we
Oh
have all
wow.
the names and ages, and then the other, there's the Clearfield County and the Fishing Creek up in Sullivan County and Columbia County. So we have list of you know these
Wow.
prisoners, and plus since it was a military, there's a
Hmm.
lot we can grab too. So um
Yeah.
yeah, that's the one of the most important things I think of, for the paranormal, as you say, know your history.
Yeah, yeah. It was when it
Yeah.
comes to the
Know your
paranormal.
history.
I wish more people would do that. That's why we have this show because we do like the history of locations and find out the true location. What's it about and stuff. But I'm going to show some pictures of the tunnels,
Hmm.
Oh
and
yeah.
because
Let's
I
go to
want
the
them to
tunnel.
see, the dysentery and stuff. I'm going to show a bunch of pictures that like the Glorious took. So here we go. Like this is the entrance going in. You know,
To where? Where is this an entrance to? Oh.
to a tunnel.
Oh.
Yeah, we had they were called casemates. They would have been the main ones. Like if you go to the second one there, um, they were for bomb shelters for the when it was first built under Adams. But these were
Ah.
then became the military prisons cells for during the Civil War. That's one going into
Well,
the powder magazine where they scored. They were that mound that we talked about earlier. This
Hmm.
is going
yeah.
into that mound. Now I tried going in there and I was getting blocked. So I took this picture.
Mm.
I couldn't walk forward at all. Something was
That's interesting.
blocking me. So I took a picture with my flash, and I caught that.
Yeah, that's like
Wow.
a mist or something. Like it
It's
might
like,
be
Yep.
a wall.
yeah. To me, it looks like somebody with a hat on and face. So yeah, I couldn't get
It's
in
Yeah,
there.
no,
Lincoln.
that's absolutely a loose apparition, but
Yeah,
yeah,
That is
absolutely a mist
wild.
showing
yeah, it was
up here.
blocking me to go in.
Whoa.
Eventually, I was able to get in.
So here's
Did you have to talk to him? And did you have to
Yes,
be like, yeah,
yes, I
yeah,
had to
yeah,
talk to him.
it's one of
Yes.
the
yeah.
prisoners
And
running
I
down the
actually, I
hallway.
actually mentioned that in a picture I did read that there's like guards and you have to like talk to them
Yeah, you
and you have
talk
to
to
like,
them. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. This is down. Yeah, down the hall in the casemates. There's
Mhm.
1 through 5 down there. The one casemate 1 was where the Confederates were held. 2, 3, and 4 was political prisoners, and casemate 5 was the Union prisoners. And people always go,
Mhm.
"Why did they have Union prisoners?" It's like, well, desertion, rape, murder, any kind of military crime,
Oh, yeah.
they threw you in prison.
And there's a prisoner running down the hall there.
Yeah.
That's me.
Oh, that's you.
That's me. Yeah.
Running, Anthony?
Well, hobbling. I'm waddling down the hall.
Stop. Stop.
That's the condition. Some of the
Yeah,
locations.
the bunks would they didn't have bunks when it was a prison, but they would have had them, later on. So some of those casemates we have bunks. People stay over, and if they're bold enough to try and stay in the casemates overnight, they will. Reenactors will use them and during the different reenactments.
Okay, this is.
Yeah, this is going down the casemate 11. That was only excavated, I guess maybe 15 years ago. When they were updating the guns, that got filled in. That was originally the powder magazine for the Revolutionary War, but during the Civil War they used that as solitary confinement, and that's
Yikes.
basically a hole in the ground. You go down, and it's very tight quarters. And when they first found it, they excavated it. We knew it was there for years, but um,
If I dug it
the
up.
groundskeeper at the time almost fell through. So then we got, I think, a University of Penn come out to excavate it, and it was like an Egyptian tomb. It was airtight. So. Um, There was the prisoners wrote their names up on the walls. There was eating utensils, cups, all kinds of good things that were found when they excavated it. Now, unfortunately, once it was opened up, you got moisture, humidity in there, so it destroyed the signatures. But we have documentations of all pictures of all the signatures that were signed there.
That's
So
interesting.
yeah, that's a lot of people don't like going down there.
When was it excavated again, Greg? What?
About 15 years ago, I think it was.
Oh, yeah. So recent. Yeah.
Yeah, very recent. Very
Yeah,
recent.
that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
I tried to go down there, but it was very tight, and I was afraid of
Very,
getting stuck.
yeah, it's very tight. And yeah, a lot of people get very emotional in there. And
Mm.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
that was interesting. Okay, here we. I love this picture.
Oh,
yeah,
that's a cool photo. Look at
yeah, that's
that.
going into the Torpedo magazine. Yeah, that's the last structure that was built at the fort.
Yeah, we went in there. That's a picture of me again.
Anthony, I almost feel like you have a lantern in your hand and you're like, come in, come in.
Yeah, I don't have a lantern. I'm just standing there, and the lights are just shining behind me.
I know, but it looks
You
like
want to
you have
hear
a
angels
lantern.
singing behind me, don't you? Ah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the Jesus halo.
come in, come.
Don't look back.
Oh, this is
The barracks.
at the barracks. Yeah, this is where they kept on calling Lourdes the Mexican.
Yeah, the Mexican, or the favorite Mexican.
Yeah, they kept on saying she's a Mexican.
Oh, that was here? That was
Yeah,
at Fort Mifflin? I've heard
yeah,
this story. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Every time I see her, it's like my favorite Mexican.
the Mexican.
But it brought up
Yeah,
a Penny come over from England. It brought
yeah,
her from yeah, it identified her as from England, and I
yeah.
mean
Oh, yeah. I identified her because she's from England, and it said something about English or something like that. And
yeah,
yeah,
Hmm.
and Wes was there too. And
yeah,
he's from Canada. Yeah, there goes Wes in the end there, and
yeah,
there you go, right
yeah,
there.
yeah. That's in the Casemate 5, sitting in Casemate 5.
So
And that's where they would have prisoners in there?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
mhm.
Okay.
This is
Yeah,
where I
yeah.
seen somebody standing down in the back there when we were sitting there. When somebody was standing back there watching us. He just like
Mm,
watched and then disappeared.
Well,
So
they love hearing you talk about them. Like
mm.
I go
mhm.
in when I'm talking, um, they just enjoy it. They enjoy it. I think they want to make sure you're saying correctly everything.
Mm.
So Kim did a reading on this. So
Yeah, we can go to the tunnels. Tunnel,
okay,
not the large tunnel, the
you
underground. Yeah, do the underground, and then we can do the
underground.
large tunnel.
Okay,
Yeah.
and here, let me get that picture off. There's a lot of work here. It's like,
You want me to do it? I can do it.
no, I got it.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the next photo here. Yeah, I'm gonna go down into the tunnels because I think these are associated with that one we're looking at. Okay, so we are looking at, this feels like a prison, feels like a barrack, a prison. What I'm seeing in here is I'm being brought to coldness, so the winter. I do feel like there are multiple people in here in the winter, all of them in here together, multiple of them. I'm seeing a man in particular. He's very thin and very sickly. This is winter time. And I do believe he was like pleading with the guards, because in this photo, I see a guard outside this door, pleading with the guards that he's sick. And I do believe he died here. It was an illness, like he was really unwell, very thin, weanly, white man. I do feel like he was a prisoner of war. I do also see some other individuals here. I do feel like there are some African American individuals here who would have been in the barracks. But mostly these are prisoners of war is what I'm feeling. So if you were to walk into this room, I actually feel like the coldness would be the first thing you would experience. The coldness. Now, I do feel like this would be underground, and it is in general colder underground, but there's something in addition to that. Now, this looks like a pretty enclosed area. I do see maybe a window or something to the outside there. A cold breeze that you feel here, this kind of frigidness. And I think you would mostly experience that because the people who were kept in here or who were in here were kept here in the winter time, and it was quite torturous for them to be in here in the winter time. So there's like that kind of memory in the space of how difficult it was there in the winter. And whispers. If you're in here alone, I think you would be touched. And I do feel like you would hear whispers, but definitely this like sensation of like cold, like you to the bone, like coldness to the bone that you just can't rationalize with tools. So I'll go back to this photo too. So yeah, I do see a guard in this one, a man sitting or standing out here guarding the entrance to this. This would again be during the time that it was either a prison or a barrack. To come to this door, you almost have to ask like permission to go in. And if you're a little forceful, you may get pushback. So going in gently, respectfully, making a promise you're not going to let them out, I think the guard would be more likely to let you in.
That's interesting. Is that where you couldn't go in, Greg?
No, but I'll tell you who she's talking about. She's
Yes.
talking about Edward Burke. He was almost 72. He was one of the political prisoners that died Christmas Eve of 1864.
Wow.
So yeah, there's fireplaces were in the two main casemates, but you know the men were shoved in there, so you had to basically rotate around to try and keep warm. And again, you slept on the floor, so people, yeah, there was a lot of death, sickness, and death. But and people do get touched in there? I always tell people there could be physical contact. You know, people do get touched. You know, shirts pulled, females, their hair. We have children that died there, so children like to, you know, pull on pant legs and that kind of stuff. So, um, but yeah, that person sounds so much like Edward Burke. He ended up being so sick they carried him out, you know, and he was emancipated, you know, and his all gray long hair and gray long beard, and they took him over to the hospital building where he died.
Was
And
that children part of the political? If the parents did they bring the children? Was it children prisoners also there with the
no,
parents?
just the men,
Just the
because
men?
you know, a lot of the ones up from upstate, they're called Fishing Creek Conspiracy. It was Fishing Creek up in Columbia County, and um, they were all just men. There was rumors that these guys were opposed to the war, and they would not report for the draft, and that's when Lincoln sent troops up there. But
Okay.
those guys, they were rounded up. You had from 18 years old to the 70s, farmers, blacksmiths,
Really?
you know, just regular town folks, and um, preachers. One of the preachers that was in prison died at the fort. So it just,
I
you
had
know,
no idea
you preached against the
what
war,
happened.
boom,
Yeah,
you were,
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
I mean, it was um, Lincoln just basically suspended the constitutional rights of the people, and um, hearsay. People were in prison from hearsay. We heard somebody goes, well, he was saying this about Lincoln. He was saying this about, and they were just hauled off.
Wow.
Yeah,
Like you said, you don't learn this in school.
you
No,
don't
you
learn
don't
this in
learn the
school.
shadow side
No,
of
you only hear the
golden child Lincoln.
Yeah, no, like I say, this book is called The American Bastille, and it goes the history of illegal arrests and imprisonments of American citizens in the northern and border states on account of their political opinions during the late Civil War.
wow.
So,
That's sold on on Amazon or
yeah, being on Amazon, there's two
okay.
copies. So, it's by John A. Marshall, and like I say, it was written and put together in the 1870s. He
Hmm.
didn't capture anybody. I've caught some other people that died at the fort, political prisoners that weren't on the list. But
Wow.
yeah, I mean, you know, Fort McHenry,
Hmm.
the whole Baltimore Council was in prison. Um, Francis Scott Key's grandson was imprisoned at Fort McHenry.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, for any Ohio, any of the northern forts they used as prisons.
Prisons.
Mhm.
As
Wow.
prisons.
Tens of thousands.
Huh.
Now
So the
Johnson,
majority from Fort Mifflin was from
Pennsylvania, yeah, there was
Pennsylvania.
44 from upstate and 40 from Western PA. Plus, um, there was the Molly Maguires. People know about the Molly
Yes,
Maguires,
yes,
the
yes. Molly
Irish.
McGuire's.
Yeah,
They're
there was
like
an
mom.
Irish society and the miners,
Mm-hmm.
and they revolted against the coal industry during the Civil War, which everything ran
Uh-huh.
on coal.
Yes.
So there was a bunch of them that were rounded up, and there was,
Really?
yeah, there was 60 of the most hardened of them were sent to Fort Mifflin before they were sent back up to like Jim Thorpe and that area to be tried, and they were hung.
Really?
Wow.
Wow, this history we didn't know.
Yeah, the history is just incredible. Yeah,
Molly McGuire's, yeah. And Kim, they were like the mobsters of the that era.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Jim
Yeah.
Thorpe. There's the haunted jail in Jim Thorpe.
Yes,
You ever
yes,
that? And the
yes,
handprint on the wall.
yes. That's from Molly. Okay.
That's the Molly Maguires. Yeah, he put his
Yes.
hand on the
Yeah.
wall to say he was innocent, and as the handprint appeared, and they've painted over it and tried scrubbing, but it keeps
Mhm.
appearing, and it's still
Yes.
there till this day.
What?
So yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's been going for forever.
Hmm.
They painted over it, and the handprint comes back.
Yep.
And we're
Yep.
talking about before any kind of like chemicals and stuff like that. And
Yep.
they could say, "Oh, somebody had chemicals on their hand and put it on the wall." No, that's
Yeah.
way before that.
Yeah, they'd
Into
scrub
the
it,
1800s.
they'd paint it, scrub it.
Yeah,
But yeah, and the Molly Maguires.
it's interesting. That's
So the
wild.
fort experienced quite a bit.
Yeah,
And
it sure did.
Kim, do you have another? Let's get some of those.
Oh yeah, do the large tunnel since we're still kind of down there. And
Okay,
we'll finish that up
we'll do
there.
the tunnels because the tunnel's my favorite spot. I would sleep in the tunnel.
I tried.
Unless there's like crickets crawling on me or something. See, I'm not
It looks
afraid
so
of them.
damp.
But when I'm sleeping, I don't.
They and they're you
I
get
just
the
outmatch
best is
what you
have
do.
a fire going. In the summer,
Mhm.
it's awful because the walls drip with the humidity.
Yeah,
Um, it's nice to have a fire
yeah.
and sleep by the fire.
So here's her reading.
So here's
Large
another
tunnel,
tunnel
yeah.
picture here. In here, I feel more of a mischievous energy. Barrack, lots of people in here on the ground, laying, sitting, resting on the sides, just totally bored, escaping the heat. Like now they're like, oh, on a hot day, they might come down here too to escape the heat. Not much else than that, although I would love to get more insight in this photo because there is a gray mass. So I do believe that people do, judging from my eyes, looking at this, would see shadow figures and like a mist, like a gray mist coming. Fog or mist that starts from the top and comes down. So you'll see it like on the top in the arch and then it kind of like descends like a curtain. Heavy. You would feel really heavy in here. Cold, distraught, and nervous. Like there's this also idea of you don't know when you're going to get out. You don't know when your date is. So almost like I feel like I want to like look over my shoulders because I like don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
That is awesome.
Yep, you pick up everything. Like I say, the sleeping on the floors, just the
Terrible.
atmosphere in there, and there's mist everywhere. You'll capture it, and just the feelings in there. Yeah.
That's good. I just want to say to the audience, if you guys like what's going on, hit the like button. Give us some likes tonight. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, ERRT Radio, subscribe. We're trying to hit the 1,000 mark. So we got a little way to go. So if anybody wants to subscribe and on the station tonight, and hit some likes if you like what you're hearing. And we're all about the history, and he's the perfect man for the history, Greg. You are the
Yeah,
perfect man.
this is amazing. So,
Yeah, he's
Anthony,
there's stuff
do
that
you
I never
have?
knew.
Oh, what is this? What do
All
you got?
kinds of news articles that I've gotten that, like the book
Yes.
Find Everybody That's Died.
I know what that's like.
I know that, and people, I pick up this name. Has this name ever been picked up? It's like there's so many deaths here at
So
the
many,
Yeah.
fort
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Plus, I didn't go. We're right on the Delaware that we get drowning victims.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Documented bodies washing up on the shore, recovered offshore. Even there's a moat around the fort. People have drowned in the moat. Um, and getting back with the scouts, I think it was probably 7 years ago, 5 years. We get a lot of Eagle Scouts, and
Hmm.
and they were we have some steps, wooden steps that go up to the wall, and that was an Eagle Scout project. And during low tide, while they were there, they went down to scavenging around on the Delaware because Delaware's a tidal river. So low
Hmm.
tide, you can walk out a little farther. We have like the Fort Mifflin Beach. So they were out walking along, and they actually discovered a lower human jawbone.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, Philadelphia coroner, he bagged and tagged it, but we've asked over years after over year to see if anybody's come up with anything on that. Was it
Hmm.
carbon dated? Is anything about this jawbone? Was it recent? Was it
Hmm.
how old was it? But
Mm,
so yeah, we still get drowning victims out there. In the
Yeah.
summertime, you got boats going up and down the river big time, and people, still get drowned out there. So.
And plus, you got in Philadelphia, there's other elements there that could help people and their lives very quickly.
Yeah, definitely. Well, a lot of people don't realize too during way back before the airport expansion. And that
Hmm.
whole Philadelphia, the fort was an island, and then it got backfilled in the 1870s, 1880s. They filled back the channel, so there was
Okay.
all kinds of islands out there. Fort Mifflin was called Mud Island. There was Providence Island, Carpenter's Island, all kinds of different islands. Um, but it was all marshland back there. And before the airport expanded the runways out,
Hmm.
that whole area is a popular spot to dispose of bodies.
Hmm. Dumping
Dumping of
victims there.
bodies.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Like
Between
I
the
said, there's other
mob,
elements.
yeah, the mob, and there was some motorcycle gangs that uh, were notorious to get rid of some bodies.
Hmm.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Christopher.
Hey,
Haven't
thanks,
seen
Chris.
you in a while.
Yeah,
And then
Chris.
we did have a question from that
Everybody.
you may be able to help with the history on this, Greg. Mary Beth was asking if the draft from the Civil War extended all the way up to where she is, which is in like Minnesota or Wisconsin.
It would have, yeah.
Mm,
So, yeah. I mean,
Mm.
right at it was towards the end of closer to the end. People were getting fed up with the war. Um, it was the expenditures, and then also after Lincoln with his Emancipation Proclamation, he became a very hated person. So that increased the arrests, imprisonments of people.
mm.
But yeah,
This
the
is
draft was
amazing. This is like
yeah.
totally blowing my brains right now.
Yeah.
Literally had no clue that this was something that even happened during the Civil War. I mean, I know the
Yeah,
Civil War was pretty horrifying all around.
but
But yeah,
yeah, yeah. Getting back to your imprisonment too. I mean, with the political prisoners there, the families came down, camped outside the fort, pleading to get their husbands and sons
wow,
released. And unfortunately, a lot of times they would get released the body. Um,
wow.
and so they were, suffering along with their their relatives.
So these people were sentenced to even after the war was over.
They were released after the war. Johnson pardoned all of them. Uh,
Okay.
but a lot of it doesn't do you any good when you're dead. But no,
No.
he pardoned all political prisoners. That's why
Huh.
this guy was going around looking for a list of everything. So yeah,
Yeah, Johnson had a different belief than Lincoln. It seemed like a
yep,
lot of different things.
yeah, they didn't get along too well.
Yeah, that was his vice president. That was great.
Yep.
You know, but that's interesting how. Kim, do you have more readings here? So which one do you want to do now?
Oh, I think there's just one left. Yeah, it was just one more.
The Fort,
And
the
it was
Fort Barrack.
two other buildings. One was a black and white picture of a building, which I don't think we've seen pictures of yet, Greg.
Okay.
And so you'll be able to help us with that. And then another building. Yeah, go for it.
Mhm.
It's a short one.
Yeah.
I was given this black and white photo also. All I kind of want to say about this is like offices, calling it the Union House. Union House. I still feel like this is associated with either a fort or a prison or a training ground, something like that. And then there's this house here, which looks like it's under construction. I can get that being renovated. And I see this again like barracks. So, like a lot of different soldiers living here. I want to put it towards the Revolutionary War times, but again, I do believe it was still used in the Civil War, still in the Mid-Atlantic region. Yeah, so here I'm seeing soldiers, maybe soldiers in their family. And what you would see, again, I feel like walking up and down these balconies, figures walking up and down. Like if you had a camera on this, like a night camera on the front of the building, you would actually see things going back and forth. There's a bit of patrol here also, like soldiers patrolling and protecting, guarding. A lot of this does feel residual because I do feel like this at one point had quite a bit of people staying here, living here on this land. That brings us back to back here. So that completes the reading, and I am so excited to hear what the history of this location is, and also if anybody in the audience was reading along with these photos and picked up on anything as well. I'd love to hear it.
Okay.
That's awesome.
All right. The first picture, that's the what we call the commandant's house, or the commander's. The fort.
Oh.
Yeah, it was um, except for when it was a military prison, the fort was always under naval jurisdiction. The Navy Yard was upriver just a little bit, um, and it was stationed with Marines, World War One, Two, and Korean War. But yeah, that's called the commandant's or the commander's
Anthony,
house.
you want to pull up that picture?
Yeah, I'm looking for it right now.
Mm.
I'm not sure which one it was, but
That was the first one. Let's see.
Let's see if I can
let
find it.
me
Yeah.
see.
Now that's the officers.
That's the office barracks.
Yep.
Shari.
No, I don't see it in here.
No.
Mm-mm.
Boy,
Oh my gosh.
Uh-oh.
no.
That's the hospital.
Okay. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, we
No.
haven't gotten to the
I thought I
hospital.
brought everything on.
Yeah.
It's a black and white. Nope. That's the front of the fort. Everybody's got to see the rest of the fort.
Oh, well, either way.
Yeah, it's the commander's house, and his family would live in there, and he had servants that lived with them too. Um, and that was also designed as the citadel. That would have been where they would have made their last stand if the fort was overrun. Um, so um, a lot of people pick up. The commandant has been seen in there, and people have pictures of him that they caught. He has a couple daughters. That Emily is one. Having a
Mm,
blank on the second one, and people pick up Emma a lot. Emma.
mm.
And he had dogs, and since you have your dog,
Yeah, I don't know why you
we do get a lot of the dogs that people pick up to hear the bark.
really.
We have
So
ghost
cool.
cat too, Sir Albert.
Sir
He like
Albert.
yeah, he was
Ghost
a
cats are the
he
best.
was I think he was a ghost cat when he was alive, because you could be sitting in one spot and you go somewhere and he's there waiting for you, and you're like, how the heck did you get out here? It's like, did you know the portals that are there down at the fort? That I mean, he just
Time
would
jump.
show up everywhere, and he likes Doritos. So if anybody wants to try and make friends with Albert, bring some Doritos.
Oh my
Doritos.
God.
I
Yeah, he
remember
You
loves
are
you said.
so
Doritos.
funny because I always say this all the time that every animal, every species of animal will eat a Dorito. Every
Yeah,
single one of them.
yeah. Albert
Cats,
loved Doritos. But
dogs,
yeah, you'll
horses,
feel them
cows.
rubbing your leg and stuff. Yeah.
Oh my
But
God.
yeah,
So
that's
it's
that was
annoying.
the commander's house, the first one. So yeah.
Great.
And then what was that second one? The hospital building.
Oh,
That was,
that's the
yeah, we just
hospital
had a new
bill.
roof put on at that picture. So yeah, it was that's built in the 1820s, and then the graves the grave site would have been right behind that.
Like, that's the
So
one I
Oh,
put up. That
you
it? No.
that's not it. That's um the one with the dumpster in front of it. Yeah, that was
Oh, okay.
when we were getting the roof redone. So you probably could, yeah, there you go.
yeah.
So we had a bad storm last year, and we had a lot of damage to the officers' quarters, and then we had issues with the roof with the hospital, so we were getting leakage. So the main part is now our offices, but it was 1821, I think, and then they added that little bump out on the side with the white. They made that the kitchen, and then the rest of the first floor became the mess hall. So that's where you would add a lot of traffic of soldiers going in and out of that, and then walking upstairs would have been for the hospital, and there would have been nurses and females up in that area too. So yeah, you'll get a lot of traffic out there, and the prisoners that were sick, that's where they would be taken over and die if they didn't die inside the casemates. But so there was a lot of death over there.
Mm, wow. Yeah, I
Oh,
was it makes sense that that white part on the side was the kitchen. I was feeling like that was the kitchen too, but I can kind of see that just normally, like that would be the kitchen on the side because
yeah.
that's where you would
Well,
cook
we have a
outside
question about
the house.
what kind of Doritos.
just
Cheese.
a just a regular cheese. Yeah, he's not a Cool Ranch person.
No, okay.
Dog,
So
cat.
don't bring no Cool Ranch. You
No
won't get
Cool
no
Ranch. He
activity.
won't. He won't eat them. Just the nacho cheese. He loves.
Nacho cheese. That's amazing. It's so true though. I swear.
Thanks,
I always
Ron.
say that.
Yep. Yeah, Ron. Thank you so much. Appreciate
That's what the Doritos. They're the ones that asked about the Doritos.
it.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't wait to get back to you. Well, maybe we'll do a show from there. How's the internet there?
Cool.
Internet's pretty bad.
Okay, I guess we don't do a show there.
Yeah, it's bad. Unfortunately, the fort was deeded to the city of Philadelphia in 1962.
Okay,
Um, so we don't get any funding from the city. They just pay for the utilities. Um,
okay.
but we didn't have electricity all last week. Um,
What?
and our phone lines have been dead for a couple months. Um,
Really?
and yeah, so we get issues with the city. It's the nonprofit group which I'm part of is the Fort Mifflin on the Delaware, and that's the group that is in charge of keeping the fort going and trying getting it to save the fort. So we're hoping to get some good grants coming on. I mean,
Mhm.
you have the Navy and Marine 250th anniversary this year. Um, the Navy has been down to the fort multiple times to try and do some events. So we'll see what happens,
Mhm.
with that, because, I say during World War I through the Korean, it was a Navy, it was Marines that manned the fort, defended the grounds there, and um, it's the during the siege, you had the Pennsylvania Navy that was fighting the British warships, um, on the Delaware. I mean, again, they held the British off for 5 weeks after Philadelphia fell. The
Wow.
How these
Mhm.
guys were told to hold off to the last extremity. So there was 400 men at the fort, and 100 and 150 of them were killed during the siege. And there was the Pennsylvania little Navy out there with these little boats were harassing the British. So yeah, so hopefully during the 250th anniversary of the Navy and Marines, we'll see some funding come our way. So that would be very nice.
When
Mm.
when there was prisoners there, I mean, did they take care of the prisoners? Would they give them fires to stay warm with, and did they feed them regularly, and did they give them decent food?
No, they didn't give them decent food. So, unless you had money, you can bribe the guards. You could.
Okay.
All right. As they're saying, they were issued blankets that had the holes in, and the food would have been the stale food. But if you could bribe, I mean, like I would imagine today, the relatives sending food to the prisoners, the
Mm-hmm.
guards would eat it, and take, so.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
The box of
so
cookies, that's mine.
that's mine.
Yeah,
Yep.
no,
So yeah,
it sounds
it just
terrible.
it was terrible conditions.
Yeah, it
And how
sounds
about the
absolutely
fires?
terrible.
Did they keep them warm?
Yeah, there was a fireplace in those two casemates, 1 and 5. They would for keeping them warm, but again, you'd have guys shoved in there, so you try to have to, you know, I mean, there's ventilation. They're not gun ports; they're ventilation openings, so the air gets in, cold air comes in.
Mm-hmm.
So there you're just huddling to try and keep warm, and they were given a half candlestick at night w-
Yeah.
so they could read letters or whatnot, but a half a candlestick.
Oh wow.
And so yeah, very horrific conditions.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
I can see.
totally felt horrific. Absolutely,
Hmm.
just like, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you hear a lot of moaning, screams, all throughout. Um,
Hmm.
you know, whispering. You hear a lot of whispering. People like to.
Yeah. When we were there, we did hear um, whispering, walking down that. When I was walking down that the tunnel, I could hear
Hmm.
footsteps behind me, and I could hear things. I've seen, you know, um, apparitions standing in corners and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and you could see the conditions if people had to live down there because we went in there in May, and it was like that. It was like a chill in the air, and it was like very moist in the air, and
Hmm.
I mean, there's areas I started coughing in because I just couldn't breathe in those areas. And these
Right.
people down there with fires going, I can imagine if the smoke, whatever,
Right. And
back
it's
into the
cold down
tunnel.
there. I mean, you're right
Hmm.
along the river.
Yeah.
I tell people it's at least 10 degrees cooler there
Hmm.
than if from where you're coming from because it
Mm.
is cold. I was down there Saturday to check on everything since we didn't have power to make sure
Hmm.
nothing was froze up, and
Oh,
it
good point.
was wickedly cold. Just oh my God, the wind always blows down there, and it's freezing cold.
Hmm.
So imagine those prisoners, in those casemates just laying on the ground and trying to huddle to stay warm. And
Hmm.
like I
Terrible.
say, you've picked up a lot of that winter feel, and so yeah,
Yeah.
just pneumonia and everything else you can imagine.
Yeah, one person gets sick in one of those cells. Forget it. The whole
Forget it. And it
everybody's
wasn't
sick.
just the prisoners, it spread through the whole garrison because,
Hmm.
everybody was getting sick. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
you
could get
know,
the guards also.
guards also, the wives, children, everybody was getting sick.
Yeah, I could imagine because dysentery and everything else going on there.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, and you weren't getting clean, good food and everything else. That's
So,
crazy.
Greg, what is your craziest paranormal experience there?
Well, I've experienced everything you can think of. I've had things go through me, climb over me, stuff thrown at me. I've
Hmm.
seen full bodies I mean,
Oh, wow.
um, m- um, my favorite full body is I was had a had a group coming in to spend the night, and I'm walking out the fort towards the parking lot with the hospital building back there, and it's
Mm.
just me. I wanted to go check the gate to see if anybody was ready to come in, and I saw a full figure a Civil War soldier, Union Civil War soldier,
Okay.
Wow.
with the
Yeah.
hat and the living color. He was in
Whoops,
blue.
sorry.
Yeah,
I'll definitely
no,
not.
that's the hospital. So he,
So it
I
um,
didn't
was
even put that
in this
on. That
parking
just
lot?
came on.
yeah, well, because
No, I did
he
it.
was
Anthony, I did it.
Oh,
I put it
oh,
on
okay.
in this
okay.
in
So
this
I'm
parking lot,
walking
right?
out. Yeah, that's the
Okay.
hospital building. So I'm walking out the parking lot, and this Civil War soldier, he's walking towards the hospital building, and
Wow.
he's all in full uniform with the hat, and he's in color blue, but his stripe, he was a private, and it was red, and he's walking towards the hospital, and then he vanishes. Now every year we have our Civil War reenactment when it was a military prison, and I asked the reenactors, because none of them had a red insignia. And I
Mm.
go, would any of the Civil War have a red insignia? And they said, yes, that would have been an artillery unit. And I'm like, wow, that makes so much sense because even though it was a military prison, it was the guns were that you had the artillery there to defend the Delaware in case, any Confederate gunboats would come up. So
Hmm,
that made much
Perfect.
sense that,
Yeah.
yeah, he had a red insignia.
that's interesting. I know the Brooklyn division had red uniforms.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I learned that from Gettysburg, and there was a
Yeah,
Brooklyn division, and they had red on. I was like, that's a target right there. But the
right.
uniforms had red stripes on them and everything like that, and I was surprised at that.
Yep.
But
But my most unforgettable was there's called when you come into the fort, you come in through an entrance, and that's
Is it
we
this?
call that, yeah, that's the coming in, and on each side is a small room, and they were guard stations, and these were called sally ports. We have two sally ports, east and west. Now the West Sallyport is one of my favorites. People, you see shadow figures walking around and everything. So I was sitting in the one Sallyport off to the side with somebody else, and we saw the shadow figures. We invited them in, and I'm sitting. There's bunk beds in there. I'm sitting on the bottom bunk bed, and next thing you know, something climbs over me to get to the top bunk bed,
oh wow,
and
Oh.
I could feel the weight on my thighs and on my shoulders, and it went up. And then we're talking, and then next thing you know, he came down off my shoulders and thighs, and he darted out. So yeah, that was my one of my favorite experiences that I had. So yeah, you just felt that the pressure of that weight on your shoulders and thighs. So I don't know if it was a child or what, but pretty unique.
yeah.
Definitely unique. Did you get any like emotions when this was happening?
I
Any
did not, but the person that was with me did.
mm,
Mm,
Very emotional. Yes, got
mm,
had to leave. We had to leave because she got so emotional. She was crying.
wow.
mm.
So
Here's something that was carved. I don't. Can you explain this to us?
yeah, that was when casemate 11 was found. Like I say, that was buried in um, probably your late 1800s. Um, when it was exhumed, when they went in, the prisoners had their names written on the walls. And this
Wow.
is William Howe. William Howe was the only public hanging that was held at the fort. William,
Wow.
yeah, William Howe was a revolutionary, I mean, a Civil War soldier. He was a Union soldier, um, and he was basically he was a hero, Battle of Fredericksburg. Um, Carried the flag that got dropped. He picked it up and carried it, but he became ill, basically dysentery, and I was supposed to report to a hospital in Washington, but decided to walk all the way up to his house in Perkiobanville, Pennsylvania, I guess up in Bucks County. So he walked from Fredericksburg all the way up, and then he to get so he could recover up there. He didn't want to go into the hospital, but eventually, after 6 months, Lincoln sent some local marshals to the place. They were drunk. They drank all day at night, and then they went to his house and uh, banged on the door. They didn't identify himself, and
Oh, that sounds great.
who knows who shot first, but the shots were exchanged, and one of the marshals was killed. Hal ran away, was captured eventually, and then brought down to Fort Mifflin. And he was housed with the other Union soldiers, but then there was an escape attempt uh, that was attempted by trying to tunnel out. And he was accused as the ringleader, and then he was thrown over there in the solitary confinement. And that was he wrote his name on the wall. He was eventually taken to Eastern State Penitentiary, and then sentenced to be death by hanging, and brought back and hung at the fort. And they sold tickets, made it a public execution, so it was standing
Nice.
room only to watch him be hung.
And that
So
was
yeah,
in the fort. They had the
inside the fort, yeah, they put the gallows, built them inside the fort. He was kept in a guardhouse that no longer exists. He was housed in there before he was hung. Um, so yeah, and then the gallows that were used to hang Hal, when they were dismantled, they were stored in Moynihanson Prison, which
Mhm.
was down in South Philly. And your most famous prisoner that was held down there was your big mass murderer, um, Holmes,
Oh, H. Holmes.
H. Holmes.
Oh yeah, I met his
And
grandson. He was a great
yeah,
guy.
and um, supposedly the gallows that were used to hang Hal were used to hang Holmes.
Really,
Yeah.
Weird.
that
Uh,
is wow.
So
Weird.
yeah. So the fort has a hand in
Yeah.
a lot of different things.
Yeah. There's like
That's
stories on stories on stories.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Is
so much
there a book?
history
Is
here.
there a book about I'm sure there's a book about the fort. I can only imagine.
Yeah, there's some good books. I mean, one of the best is this Philadelphia, an illustration of the fort. You know, it has um, some really good history of the
Or
fort.
Hmm.
Millfield. Okay, Philadelphia.
Fort Mifflin of Illustrated Jeffrey Dorwat. So it's an
Nice. Thank
excellent
you.
book
Wow.
with the history. But there's tons of books. You know, um,
Is there a paranormal book about Fort Mifflin?
there's lots of good books about Fort Mifflin. One if you love about the Revolutionary War, Private Yankee Doodle Dandy, and it was by J.P. Martin. All right.
Hmm.
Forrest Gump of the Revolutionary War. He wrote a diary of all he fought in every major conflict, and when he was at Fort Mifflin, um, during the siege, he writes all about it, and um, how they suffered, and during the height of the battle, there was 1,000 cannonballs an hour shot on the fort. So he talks about the guys just getting blown, cut in pieces by the British. So it was just total carnage. But yeah, there's a lot of different books about the fort. One of my favorite
Hmm.
is The Ghost That Saved America by one of
Nice.
my favorite, Richard Estep. You guys know Richard Estep?
Oh yes, Richard. Yes, he's a
Yeah,
good guy.
he's a
Yes.
great guy. He
Mm-hmm.
came and we spent 4 nights at the fort,
Mm-hmm.
and he
He's from
wrote about
England.
his
Hmm.
experiences that those nights at the fort. So
He has a
I
lot of
highly
history.
recommend that. So, but
I
there's
gotta get that.
others. There's The Haunting of Philadelphia. There's tons of different books written. Some of them, like I say, there was Um, there was one book um, that that the Elizabeth Pratt story got started. That was put in about Fort
Mm,
Mifflin. So I don't recommend that one, but everything else is highly recommended.
That's wow.
Yep, Richard books are great. So yeah, pick that
Yeah,
up.
he has a lot, a lot
He
of.
has a
I think
lot.
I have a
And
couple
what
on audio.
and
I,
what's great about Richard,
mhm.
he has it that, when he dies, any money from the location he wrote goes right back to that location.
Oh wow,
So
yeah,
yeah,
he's a good guy.
he's a good
mhm.
guy. And it was
Mm-hmm.
we had a lot of experiences those nights when
That's
he was
important.
there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I met him at one of the Paracons, and we talked a little bit. Yeah,
yeah.
nice guy.
Look him up. And the books you can find
Mm-hmm.
the book on Amazon
Mm-hmm.
or anywhere
I
else.
get Audible, and I just play
Okay.
the books as I'm driving because I got my friend Ron Iacovetti and Richard Masella. I'm not much of a reader, so
Right.
I just put it on and I listen. I think I got to a couple of their books already, and Richard, I finished one of his books. Um, I got to do with the hospital emergency room and stuff like that because he worked in the hospital and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Okay,
Richard's an EMT. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
out
So
of Denver, Colorado.
um, there's a cool picture you have here. I just want to show. Is this one of the Cadden?
Yeah. Yeah, we do
Oh, the
a cannon
reenactments.
demonstration. Um, yeah, that's a good one. To get it's just gunpowder, but if we want a really good, as you can see, there's reenactors all standing to the
Mm-hmm.
side. Uh, if we really want a good display, um, you put steel wool um, with the gunpowder, and that's how you
Wow.
get that big display like that.
Oh,
Oh wow. That's
that's
it.
the Commodore's house too, right?
Commandant's
The
house right there, yeah,
Common.
and then,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
then all the way to the background is the artillery shed.
Mm.
Yeah,
I like the way it shoots forward, and then you see the sparks shooting up
shooting
when
up
it ignites.
from where they lit it. It comes out that back hall too with the gunpowder. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
Wow, that's
yikes.
that's a wild picture. And
yeah.
that's the cannons it's coming out of.
No, that's just that's one of the um recovered cannons. We don't shoot those anymore. These ones, but
Mm.
that was a recovered out of the Delaware.
Oh,
That was a
really?
little naval cannon
Delaware. That's
out the
cool.
Delaware.
The Delaware.
Greg, do
Yeah.
you do any of the reenactments too? Are you involved in them at all?
I I just try to stick with the paranormal.
Yeah.
I
It's easier that
Fair
way.
enough. It keeps us
Yeah,
busy.
it keeps busy, between
Yeah.
we try to do we have open investigation events throughout the year. You got the groups coming in
Hmm.
um that spend the night or 6 hours, paranormal tours, October we do candlelight tours. We do have a sleep with the ghost program. So um that keeps me busy.
Ooh,
Yeah.
sleep with the
So I
night
mean,
with a goat
we got time,
program.
but do
Yeah,
you want
that's
to?
a
What is
weekend
that?
before October Halloween. We have our sleep with the
That's
ghosts.
wild. We go there. I got a bunch of pictures. I don't know.
I would do the sleepover.
Yeah,
Sleep with the
yeah.
ghost.
My record is we limited to 40 tickets. So I mean, people spread out. It's really good. But my record is I started with 40 and I ended up with 6 by the morning. They were
Wow.
scattering through the night.
The night that it's like everybody has their cars running outside just in case.
Yeah.
Do you feel
Uh,
like more and more people are more interested in the paranormal? Like, do you find that
I
people are more
do. I
open to
mean,
it?
I do. It's just um people a lot of people come for the history, and then when they find about the paranormal they come back, and then
Hmm.
um they end up being regulars. We've gotten people that um you know be, come back and want to be working at the fort. So um yeah, but we make sure if we hire anybody that they're aware of the the other coworkers that are around, so that they don't
The
get
ones
spooked.
that the other volunteers that don't, you know, that yeah, everybody wants to see, but they don't see all the time, and
Right.
it's like
Yeah, I mean, we've had people run off that were working there. I mean,
Mm.
I can imagine.
we had was it 2 years ago? We had the guy, maintenance guy, the guy to take care of the grounds,
Mhm.
and he lasted 2 weeks. He
The
just
groundskeeper,
Wow.
I can
he
imagine.
just took off and wouldn't return phone calls, emails, or anything. He just was like, I've had enough, and he went.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they you know
I'm going to just throw some more pictures up there that
Yeah, you
we.
definitely have to be like comfortable being
that's
alone in a
yep.
like in a place like that.
I
Mm,
just that is a picture of me walking, and
yeah.
that just shows that's a cargo ship. Sh
Oh
shows
my
that
gosh.
yeah. We're the channel. The fort was put right where it was placed because the channel of the Delaware to go to Philly or come from Philly runs right into the fort. So it's a perfect spot to shoot at
Wow.
people. So
Yeah, I guess.
high tide, there's a seawall that was built back in the early 1900s that keeps us from flooding. So as you can see, when there's high tide, we are below the river level.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I
Yeah,
love
that's a
that
huge
picture.
tip.
And that's not great to have tunnels.
Well, way back when the military was there, they had a lot of pumps underground to keep it from flooding. But once they deactivated, they took the pumps.
That's a good way of not have to feed prisoners. Shut the pumps off. We gotta save money this week.
Oh
How we
my
gonna save
gosh.
money? Shut the pumps off,
Terrible.
okay?
Terrible.
Start bailing.
Terrible.
Money's money, yeah.
Start bailing.
That's
Yep,
the
parade
grounds.
grounds looking down. Yep.
Mm.
This is
I want to
parade.
commend whoever is the groundskeeper because that's quite a bit of grass that they have to mow.
It's a lot. Yeah, our Sam is he's a reenactor that ended up coming and working at the fort, and he just does a awesome job of taking care of the fort. Yeah, that's an old one showing the fort
Oh,
there. That's a
Anthony,
great
can you go back 2 photos? Can you go back? It
Which
was like a gate.
that
Yeah,
one
yeah, that
or
one. Is that the entrance gate you were talking about, Greg,
that's
where
the
there was
main
like
gate.
mhm.
That's the main gate.
where
Yeah,
there
that
was
was
that bunker where you had that experience of somebody climbing on you?
not here. Not
No.
here.
Okay,
Mm,
okay.
No.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but that's
Gotcha,
the
gotcha.
main gate.
okay.
And the flag pole. This is outside the fort. Like I say, during the 1870s, they put gun emplacements and casemates down. So I always tell people we have a nature trail. So
Mm,
once you get done exploring inside the fort, walk
yeah,
down
that's
the
right.
nature trail and you can find all these hidden little areas. Now, we're hoping we've cleared the trails, but we're hoping to eventually clear more of the area down there with the all the different gun emplacements and the casemates that are back there. Um,
Oh, creepy.
yeah, that's
Yeah, with all
outside
the
looking at
trees
the fort.
growing on
See
it.
the gray stone? That's original fort from 17 to 77.
Wow.
All right, so there's areas where
Mm-hmm.
you can actually see where the cannonballs hit the fort. But yeah, the gray is the original. The British ran out of money. They started 1771. By 1774, it was over budget, so they only finished the west and the north side and then the rest of it. Uh, when you brought up Benjamin, come 1775, good old Ben Franklin decided the fort needed we needed to work on this fort, so he raised money so that they could not they finished, but it was earth and log. There was no more stone,
Hmm.
so they just
Mm.
used earth and log. And it's just showing more outside. Now we have cleared those walls. Our ground guys worked hard to so clear those walls so there's more stone. Now this is casemate back in the outside the fort. Shows one of the casemates. These go
Wow.
down about a quarter mile down the river. So these are outside the fort. A
Mm.
lot of people they do the fort inside, do the tour, and there's a lot more. We have 40
Yeah,
total
that's
acres.
interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. We didn't see that.
No, a lot of people don't go back there. And I mean,
Hmm.
it needs to be cleaned up substantially, but you can walk back there. We have a trail, but funding is funding. So that just
Yeah,
shows
exactly.
that's
Sure.
looking, if you look, that's looking that this is this riverside. So you would never know that's the wall up top. You would have never know that's a
Oh
wall.
yeah, I see it. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, all the swampness of it. Yeah.
Yep.
Woo.
yeah. Yeah, it's a swamp. And,
Um,
uh,
Todd and Carmela are asking Greg if there's any recent reports of apparitions during investigations or tours.
Um, Lately it's been um pretty quiet with everything going on at the fort. We're shut down pretty much till March. And but the most recent current is Our Lady in Blue. Um,
Mm.
she's
mm,
like a Civil War. She could be Elizabeth Bunker, but Elizabeth Bunker was 60 when she died. This female, the
Mm.
more she's cited, the more defined she gets.
Mm.
Um, and she
Wasn't
seems
she like a
younger.
nurse?
Yeah, it could be a nurse. So she's there. So uh, you're welcome, Mary Beth. So she's been the most current. Um, uh, Lately, let's see. I think the latest investigation that was done was in November, and this group, anybody that comes in anymore does YouTube,
mm.
so they had a
Yeah.
lot of good activity. So if
Yeah.
anybody, just look up Fort Mifflin YouTube, and there's tons and tons
I can
of
imagine. And then
yeah.
you probably have, you know, the the people that walk around with their cell phones and, hey, look where I am. Fort
Oh
Mifflin.
yeah, yeah, especially
The
yeah,
influences. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep,
I mean, how can we get in touch with you guys to, you know, do you have a website or you have, I mean,
yeah,
uh,
yeah. I mean, the website is fortmifflin.us, um, and yeah, the you go to the events or the programs on the side that you'll see programs, and there's paranormal scouting educational. So
mhm,
you click on the paranormal, you'll get the information. If you want to book, we have overnights and we have 6 hours. And then the event, so if you click on the event, you can see all the different events. Right now, it's not been updated yet. So we're working on getting everything taken care of because, as I said, we've had some issues last few weeks with power and everything. So things are a
Mm.
little behind. We usually have everything out by now, but things aren't out. But yeah, the events. I mean, we cover. Um, um, do our big siege event every November. And then we do Civil War. We'll do World War I events. Do World War II. We got, I think, in March we're setting up a nice big World War I event,
Mm.
and they're going to have the bombs and the sirens and stuff going off,
oh,
going,
wow.
and they're going to make the casemates like them under attack. So that's in March. But yeah, we do different. We have demonstrations. The weekends we have tours. We're open Wednesday through Sundays. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It's a do your walk. It's a self tour. That's when we usually have. If we have a school group, we'll have a tour guide with them and that. But Wednesday, Thursdays, Fridays are usually pretty quiet unless there's a tour guide coming in. I mean,
Hmm.
a school group or a group comes in. And Saturdays, Sundays, you'll have tours. We have a new director, and he's working on getting a lot more uh, um, events scheduled and a lot of different. Um, we've always done like a um, open up, do some like a colonial brewery, or we have
Yeah.
That's
so
what.
there's a lot. So again, just give us a little time, but if you want to get down, yeah, the events, there's
Mhm.
we cover everything, and then if anybody, which we've done for the last 3 years now, we have a big promoter that comes in September, has the fort for a couple weeks and has a big music festival.
That's
Wow.
fun.
That's pretty wild. And when that's done, I tell you that the fort is rocking. That they get like 1,000 people a night. They go
Oh
from
my gosh.
yeah, it's become one of the biggest music festivals. So and they rent the fort out, and that's every September. And but that the place goes, I the place goes nuts afterwards for a paranormal. It's
Oh,
just
I
like
was just gonna say.
the
Oh yeah.
energy, all those
Imagine.
people, and
Love
then they ha-
music.
they have the music going, the
Yeah.
speakers. They have all the buildings. It's the lighting company that like does like in Philadelphia City Hall that puts those displays with the motion of everything is motion
Oh
and
yeah, like a
um,
laser
Hmm.
type thing. Yeah.
yeah, they have every inch of the fort they do. All the buildings, the walls.
That is
It
awesome.
is unbelievable. I don't know if I sent you any of those pictures, but they
I
are
didn't
nuts.
see any of those,
Yeah.
but I mean
So,
that's great.
So what
but
you're
yeah,
trying
so,
to tell us is that wink, wink, book your paranormal the week after
yeah,
the
I tell
festival.
people, if you see one of the reenactment events, Civil
Yeah.
War, any of the
Hmm.
world, and the our siege weekend in November, yes, book it the weekend after, or
Yeah.
book it. I tell people even try booking it the Monday night. They get out of there Sunday, book it
Hmm.
Monday
Get as quick
night.
as possible. Yeah, the activity's up
Hmm.
high. So
Yeah,
privately, if people want to come in and have private events there, like paranormal, because a lot of people in our audience are paranormal and from different states, they could just book it with you, or just have to go
they
to the website.
they go to the website and book it, and then
Okay.
yeah, and then I can use your guide and just you know, and then
Hmm.
let you do your thing.
And
But
what is like an all night thing? Is it
there's
overnight?
an all night. We have all night or just 6 hours.
Yes.
All night. We let people go till 8 a.m. We're
Oh,
not.
awesome.
I mean, most of the time people are gone before 8 a.m. So,
Yeah.
um,
Uh, because we have people out of state, and if they want to come, and because we got Florida, Texas, we got different
yeah,
locations. So if they want
Yeah.
to come, they could stay
yep,
to 8 a.m. if they want to.
yes, yep. Well,
Okay,
we've had
no
them from
problem.
all over. I've had a group from Florida, Michigan, and you name it.
Mhm. I know
It's
England. They have people coming from Canada.
Canada,
Oh yeah, that's right.
Colorado.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
mean, I get why. This place sounds amazing.
yep,
it is.
and yeah. Keep an eye on the events. We got a big special event that's coming up June. Um, that once everything's finalized, we'll announce it. But it's going to be with a lot of special guests will be at the fort.
Okay.
I can't, like I say right
I
now,
can't say, but I
I
know
can't say who or
it's going to
what,
be a
but
Keep checking the website.
everybody, there's some special guests that, if you watched any television in the last 10, 15 years,
Mhm.
um, you'll know uh, who these guests are. So this, this has been an ongoing uh, effort, and so
So wink,
just
wink. I can get a
the
table
I's have
there.
to be dotted and the T's have to be crossed, and
Yeah.
Sure.
but yeah, come June,
Exciting.
so looking forward to that. There's going to be some great people that are going to be there that I've been friends with for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
You gonna be at Gettysburg again this year?
I'll be Gettysburg again this
Thursday
year.
night?
Yeah, oh, definitely Thursday
Yeah.
night.
Because last year we hung out by the pool. It was us. We
Yeah.
hung out at the pool.
Yeah, unfortunately
Yeah.
last year at Gettysburg, that's when I was started having my heart issue.
Oh,
So
okay.
I wasn't very social last year and I ended up leaving early Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then
Yeah, I
I
had to
ended up,
leave early because I had family issues, so I had to leave
yeah,
early on myself.
yep. But
Yeah.
now I got my heart fixed, so I'm good
Got a
to
new
go.
ticker, you're all good.
I'm good, man. It's funny, I got in my mail the my official inserted device card
Okay.
for
Oh,
for
for
my
like
heart
when you fly?
valve. Yeah, what's that?
For when you fly, like when you go
I
on your.
just got to carry it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
when they
He's the one
did
that
my
sets
heart
off
Nice.
valve,
the X-ray machines now, all
yeah,
the beep beep beep. Oh goodness.
it's the
Yeah.
heart valve. So yeah. So
We're
Wow.
coming to the end of the show. We
wow.
hate to end the show because you're such a great guest, and I think
Yeah.
everybody
Wealth of
in the
knowledge.
audience is
Amazing.
looking. They're all
Blown away.
or some of the history you told us that we never learned. You
Correct.
know, and it's such a great. Today was a great show. I really enjoyed it. We had great guests on the show tonight. You know,
Hmm.
um, we got some people. Yeah, exciting show. Whoops. Okay, I'm gonna let you take over that, Kim.
Okay.
Yeah, so we had a lot of great people on the show tonight. It was, we enjoyed ourselves. Uh,
I appreciate it. Yeah, I
yeah,
can't make the parade. I got my grandson Friday, unfortunately.
yeah, Todd Camella, you're spelling Eagles wrong. It's EL,
Yeah, it's
not EAL.
ELGLES.
EL. They don't put the A in. The A silent, so silent they took it out.
Yep.
So silent.
So yeah, so the show, like, we got a couple minutes, and I just want to say thank you for everybody in the audience. Greg, like I
Yep.
said, you
Thank
was
you for coming
fantastic.
again to
You're
another show
welcome
this
back.
week.
I know Jennie is biting her lip right now because she probably wanted to be here to talk to you, and because she's another
I
history
have a
buff, and
million questions.
yeah, yeah, oh yeah, Jennie, we'd be going to another hour after if Jennie was here, asking a million questions with you. So yeah, so we will probably be coming down and visit you. We'll bring
Yeah.
Kim and Jennie and a couple other
Yep.
friends, and we'd like to check you out.
Yeah.
Together. So I just want to thank everybody in the audience for showing. Like I said, we had some great guests tonight. Um, it's like usual. Our audience is always participating and they're always listening. I think I'm assuming they enjoy the show a little bit. They seem to come back every week unless they're bored and have nothing else to do. Nothing on TV. Let's throw these guys on. You know. But yeah, we
Stop.
had a great time tonight, and and I just want to say, everybody, I you got to go to these locations, and
Support
when
them.
you guys go there, the
Yeah.
money that you spend there goes to them for rebuilding everything. These locations are very important to us, not just the paranormal, just the history itself.
Yeah.
And you got to try to, get to these locations. I mean, just to hear the history that we didn't know. You go to Greg and he'll tell you stuff that you're like, what? That was so cool. So I got to say, I wanted you guys, when you guys go on an investigation, you got to be safe because you want to look for ghosts. You don't want to be a ghost. Hey, ciao, familia. Good night and thank you, everybody.
Night, everyone. Good night. Thanks, Greg.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank
you.
you. Thank you very much.
Hey, How you doing?